प्रतिबोधिता भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथिता पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ततामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्.
Verse 4.
So this is basically the Bhagavan tells more about the father aspect of the creator. The idea is to sense the Srishti as a prakriya. Even if you approach it as a prakriya, the father aspect, mother aspect, Ardhanarishwara, Jagadabhidaravante, Parvati, Parameshwara, that is what is coming in that Kumara Sambhavam Kalidasa, where he says, Jagata Pritarav Vande, Parvati, Parameshwara, Artamiva, what do you call?
Vagattaviva Samprito, Vagatta Pratipatti.
Jagata Pitaram Vande, Parvati, Parameshwara.
Yes. So with all that, in the sense it's an imagery, or you can say, what do you call? It gives us a picture wherein you are able to look at the whole creation as Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and Purusha and Prakriti, all as the male aspect, female aspect, and all that. But it doesn't, the sense, once you have that, you are able to harmonize between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. But ultimately, it's all from one being only. That is what was told in the previous verse. But now, having told that, he is talking about the father aspect of it, this is the Purusha aspect. Father aspect, Purusha aspect. Prakriti is Maya Shakti. That is the female aspect. But it's only what you call it. It's only an imagery. So we should not think there are two aspects. There are no two aspects. There is only one being. There, but because we have a awareful, the Desakala Vastu Aparichinnam, the awareful being, changeless is Purusha, changing is Prakriti. So the changing rests on the changeless. As I have always been told, without changeless, changing cannot be perceived or even transacted with. So everything rests on the changeless Purusha. That is the oneness is always valid, maintained. But having maintained that, we are explained how the Prakriti aspect and how is the Purusha aspect are working together to make our life happen as it is. That's what is being explained now.
Yeah. Verse 4. Bhagavan tells more of the father aspect of the creator. Sarvayonishu kaundeya murtayaha sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahadyonihi aham bija pratapipita. Kaundeya, O Arjuna, Sarvayonishu, in all wombs, Yaha Murtayaha, forms which Sambhavanti are born, Tasham, for those, Brahma Mahadyonihi, the great Maya is the original cause, Aham, I am, Bijapradaha Pita, the father who gives the seed. Kaunteya, the great Maya is the original material cause for those forms which are born in all wombs. I am the one who gives the seed, the father. The various wombs in which these forms are born include, Sankara says, the gods, mains, human beings, domestic animals, and wild animals. The forms are the entire assembly of the bodies and are called Murtayaha because they have limbs which are subject to growth. Murchita Anga Avayavaha.
Avayavaha, plural. Avayavaha means plural, with limbs. Anga Avayavaha.
For all these forms, born in various wombs, the original cause, Mahadyoni, is Brahman. That which sustains everything and is the material cause for everything and therefore is called Mahat, the biggest. If one were to ask, then who are you? He says, I am the father who gives the seed. Aham,
One who gives the seed. Yeah.
the one who gives the seed. Aham bija pradaha pita. He is the one who impregnates this Maya and makes it create everything. Maya itself has no real existence, apart from the Atma, which lends existence and consciousness to it. And Atma with Maya, that is Ishvara, has omniscience. The Sarvajñatva
Sarvajñatva. Omniscience means Sarvajñatva. Yeah.
and omnipotence, Sarva Shaktimatva. Whatever takes place to initiate the creation is called giving the seed, and giver of the seed is Bija Prada. Extrapolating our knowledge of what is needed for someone to be born, in the language that we know from our experience, the cause of creation is described here in the following manner. The father, the one who gives the seed being Parameshwara, and the mother, the material cause, being Prakriti. The following verse is about the qualities of this material cause and how they bind.
Verse 5, the three gunas of Prakriti, Sattvam Rajastama iti gunaha Prakriti Sambhavaha Nibadnanti Mahabaho Dehe Dehinam Avyayam. Mahabaho, O long-armed one, Arjuna, Sattvam Rajastama iti gunaha. The qualities Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, Prakriti Sambhavaha. The qualities existing in Prakriti, Dehe in the body, Avyayam, the changeless, Dehinam, indweller of the body, Nibadnanti, bind. Arjuna, the mighty armed, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the qualities existing in Prakriti, bind as though the changeless indweller of the body to the body. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas are the three component qualities, gunas, of the material cause of creation, Prakriti. Guna is purely a technical name given by the Shastra for certain phenomena. They are not attributes as we know, like big, small, circular, green, and so on, which can be perceived and are dependent upon and qualify a substance. Here, the guna is not something different from Maya, the one who has the gunas. That means Maya is in the form of these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. They are its very nature, Swarupa. By these three gunas mentioned in the Shastra, we are able to explain certain conditions we experience. They belong to or exist in the Prakriti Sambhavaha. Because they exist in the cause of creation, we find that their expressions manifest in the creation. An experience of Sukha or the gaining of knowledge is an expression of Sattvika Prakriti, while desire and anger are Rajasa Prakriti. Dullness or delusion are Tamasa Prakriti. When Prakriti manifests as this creation, we find that these three are also manifest in the creation. Bhagavan says they bind Nibadnanti, and Shankara is careful to note that they seemingly bind Nibadnanti Iva. If they really bind, how is it possible to get released? Later in this chapter, Bhagavan is going to show that you are released from all these gunas simply by knowing that you are free from gunas, nirguna. We have to be very careful whenever we introduce new words of categorization, or we will create new problems for ourselves. Someone who was complaining that he was dull will now say that he is tamasika and develop a complex. If you say you are dull, at least you can understand that and do something about it. If you take a cup of coffee, you may become more alert. But if you say you are tamasika, the problem is compounded and much more difficult to solve. We already have a tendency to categorize and label people, and now we are armed with three more words either to dub ourselves or another person. All we are meant to understand here is that everybody is a mixture of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, which account for the various changes we see in our minds. These gunas bind the Dehi. Where do they bind? In the body, Dehe. Whom? the one who indwells the body, Dehinam, who does not undergo any change, Avjayam. These gunas seemingly bind the one that does not die, who is always in the same form. Why seemingly? Because the bondage is only due to ignorance. The entire Prakriti is Mithya. Therefore, from the standpoint of Atma, there is no Prakriti at all, and its gunas only seemingly bind, Nibadnanti Iva. Further, when the existence of these three gunas depends upon Atma, how can they at the same time bind Atma? Only when the person does not know that these are the gunas, the expressions of Prakriti, do they bind him. They do not belong to him. Without the discriminative knowledge of the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, these gunas do bind, and with that knowledge, they do not. Shankara explains the word Mahabaho that Krishna uses to address Arjuna here. He gives two meanings: the one who has long hands, or the one who has capable hands. Arjuna was an archer of very great skill and thus a Mahabahu. Also, when he let his arms hang by his sides, his hands extended up to the knees. This is an indication that he is a person of special abilities in warfare and so on. When this Atma does not undergo any change, because as was shown in 13th chapter, it is beginningless and without attributes, Anaditvat Nirgunatvat, how can anything bind it? In fact, nothing can. But because of avidya, what is not possible becomes possible. The infinite eternal Atma apparently becomes finite and time bound. The Atma that is free from gunas seems to be bound by them all. This is because of avidya. Avidya, Maya, can accomplish what is impossible. In the work called Maya Panchakam, the refrain is Aghatita Gathana Patiyasi Maya.
Agatita Gatana Patiyasi Maya. Very famous
Agatita
statement.
Gatana Patiyasi Maya. Maya
What is not possible, Maya makes it possible. That is the definition of Maya. Agatita Gatana Patiyasi Maya.
Patiyasi, yeah? Ta.
Patiyasi.
Patiyasi Maya.
Gatana. Agatita Gatana Patiyasi Maya.
Maya is capable of making what cannot be made. Therefore,
Possible to possible, Maya can make. Because it's only an appearance. So it appears, it's not real. It's only Iva.
Yes.
So whether it is, even though it is not, unless you know, till then for you it is real. You will jump around seeing as a rope as snake. So that is what it is talking about. That is what Maya can do.
Therefore, all these gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, seem to bind the person who indwells this body, dehinam nibadnanti. One by one, he now defines each of the gunas. Though these are all gunas, among them there is a difference as there is among gems. Every gem is a precious stone, but there is a difference between a sapphire and an emerald. As we proceed, there is going to be a lot of discussion on these gunas here and in subsequent chapters. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas are words introduced by the Shastra and therefore have to be defined by that same Shastra. In the next verse, Sattva is defined.
So in the whole thing, the discussion of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, which I have told before also, the idea is we have to identify in ourselves and elevate us from Tamas to Rajas to Sattva. All the time we should keep doing that. Sattva means Suddha Sattva is supposed to be the the internal alignment which is necessary for understanding reality as reality. So that for that we have to elevate ourselves to Sattva predominance at all the time. In that respect only we have to look at all these three. All the three are essential. Like when we go to sleep we are tamas. When we are active we are rajas. When we are contemplating, when we are thinking we are sattva. So all the three are available or required for all vyavahara. But for the purpose of understanding life, you have to be predominantly sattva. So your lifestyle, it should help you to be a predominantly sattvic person. So every time we have to use it only to be alert to where we are. so that we can make some corrections. Not to use that to judge other person or label the other person. So that is what we have to take care.
I will read. I will read.
Okay.
Verse 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam sukha sangena padnati jnana sangena chanaga chanaga
Yeah.
Anaga.
Actually, anaga. Anaga means without papam. He is fondly addressing Arjuna. Yeah.
Anaga, O sinless one, Arjuna, Tatra, there among these, Sattvam, Sattva, Nirmalatvat, because it is pure, Prakashakam, illuminating, Anamayam, is without affliction, Sukasangena, while Sukasangena by connection to pleasure, Jnana Sangena cha, and connection to knowledge, Badnati binds. O sinless one Arjuna, there among these Sattva which is illuminating and without affliction because it is pure, binds by connection to pleasure and connection to knowledge. Sattva expresses as and binds through pleasure and knowledge. Tatra means among these three qualities. Now, firstly, let us take Sattva. It is defined here as Anamaya, without affliction, because it is free from any kind of impurity, or Nirmalatvat. Nirmalatvat. Sattva is able to reflect consciousness very clearly. It is Prakashaka, and therefore endows one with a capacity for clear knowledge. Being Anamaya without any affliction, it allows one to see without any confusion. Whenever you are able to see things clearly, you must know it is an expression of Sattva. Besides clear knowledge, Sukha is also an expression of Sattva. Whenever you are cheerful of experience, a pleasurable moment, Sattva is predominant. Though these are desirable experiences, Bhagavan does not fail to point out here that they too are binding. Sattva binds by giving the person the experience of Sukha, a quality belonging to Sattva, whereby he takes himself to be a Sukhi and says, I am happy. Because the experience of Sukha, like any experience, cannot remain, he is priming himself for the conclusion, I am happy. Whenever you are
I am unhappy. In the sense,
I am unhappy.
What he says is, you cannot get carried away by a Sukha situation, because anytime that can drop, then again you will feel bad about it. So don't get carried away because of your everything falls in place. You are in the right time at the right place, and because of that you are in a position to accept whatever is happening. That means you are in the Sattva state of quality, and you are able to accept it. But because it is of circumstances, you are in the right place at the right time, anytime things can change. So the Sukha Anubhavam should not get addicted to that. So you must be ready for that. Sattva, the Chitta Sattva should help you to be ready for anything. Even when something changes, the Sattva should be retained. For that, you should not get attached to the Sukha Anubhavam. That's what he is trying to say. But be alert to that.
Swamiji, actually, before and all, when we are young, ரொம்ப சிரிச்சானா ரொம்ப சிரிக்காது அப்புறம் அழுவேன்.
Exactly. These are all there in our culture.
Whenever we laugh a lot, no, we get scared that we may cry later.
Because our people, because the culture, they knew always that Sukham and Dukham are only two sides of the same coin. So you don't get carried away with anything. So that was there in the culture. In the sense, those things, no, that all those simple words mean a lot of things, but we ignored it and we moved away.
The other way, it made us start feeling guilty when we laugh a lot because we think, oh, I'm going to cry after some time. That was the reason.
You have to be alert. Idea is to be alert. You don't have to be, can enjoy, but you must be at the back of your mind, you know, there things can change. This also can pass. That must be there in our mind.
Whenever you are happy or peaceful, it is due to vritti and the antakarana accounted
in the
for.
antakarana. Due to a vritti in the antakarana. Yeah.
Vritti in the antakarana accounted for by the predominance of sattva. But like any vritti, it is time bound. It is time bound.
Time bound, full stop. Then sukha is an object of an experience of the mind. Yeah.
Sukha is an object of an experience in the mind. When it is superimposed upon the Atma, it gives rise to the conclusion, I am happy. Being happy is not inherently a problem, but it becomes a bondage because it is not totally true. The Sukha in the Vritti is a property of Sattva in as much as it is dependent upon the predominance of Sattva in the mind. The nature of Sattva is such that it reflects or does not obstruct the Ananda, the fulfillness that is the real.
The fullness.
The fullness that is the real nature of the individual, and makes a certain sukha manifest in the antakarna, and later the manifestation of sukha diminishes as it inevitably must.
Inevitably it must. Yeah. See, what he says is, the thing is that the sukha anubhavam, we think it is because of the sukha anubhavam we are having a pleased self. But pleased self is our reality. What happens is, in most circumstances, the pleased self gets camouflaged or confused with what is happening around, so we don't get to enjoy our pleased self. So we think by removing a certain negative surroundings and by getting the glimpse of a sukha anubhavam, we are becoming pleased. But actually, pleased self is your reality. So as long as your reality understanding is not there, you will be assuming that the sukha anubhavam is the pleased self. So you will start chasing the sukha anubhavam, trying to manipulate circumstances in such a way that you are sukhi all the time around. So that will not last. However great and how powerful and knowledgeable, moneyed you are, it will always change. So the sukha anubhavam is not your pleased self, is your reality. So that's what I used to tell. That I lack is the problem. What I lack is not the problem. Life, what I lack is not the problem. That I lack is the problem. That I lack is basically because of a lack of understanding that pleased self is my reality. So reality understanding of the pleased self is not dependent on sukha anubhava, sattva or rajas or tamas. So we should not get confused. The sattva disposition is helpful to understanding, but understanding has to be the final factor, not the just by just having a Suddha Sattva, I will always be Suddha Sattva, I will always remain in the temple. I will remain in a Sattva. That is like living in a glass house. It doesn't last. So we should, using that Sattva disposition, you must understand life. That my reality is pleased self. That once that is there, thereafter it doesn't matter. But you should not get carried away with the Suddha. Even the Suddha Sattva is, even though it is desirable, but you should not get hold on to it. You should not get addicted to it. That's what he's trying to say. Yeah. So then sattvic disposition is important. But that disposition alone will not, we cannot stick to it and just try to make everything around sattvic is not going to help, because that will also change. Because that is part of the changing reality. We have to ensure the sattvic disposition, and with that disposition you have to understand the reality. Reality is Suddha Sattva, in the sense changeless. The changeless is our objective, not the remaining in Sattva. Remaining in Sattva also can be a golden shackle. So very important that's what he is trying to say. Even though it is desirable, it is good to have people around you who are sattvic and who are able to advise you and all. But that cannot be your final objective. Using the Sattva, and you have to understand life. That Sattva is your reality. In the sense, the changelessness is your reality. So that Sattva is the ultimate. That is different from the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna facilitates, but Sattva Guna is not enough. You should not get carried away with that. That's what he's trying to say. Yeah.
This is samsara. This kind of sukha is always connected to an object. If there is a reason for a person becoming happy because he got this or got rid of that, he has ignorance, avidya. When somebody is happy without any reason, he is either a madman or a wise man. Even the madman has some object in his mind. So only the wise man is truly happy without a reason. As long as there is an answer for the question, why? There is superimposition of sukha on the self. Similarly, if there is ignorance, the self which is akarta, which is akarta, free from any action, is mistaken for an agent, karta. And when sattva is predominant, being a knower, pramana is
Pramata. Pramata means knower. Pramata is the name of the knower in Sanskrit. Yeah.
Is superimposed upon the Atma. In this way, Sattva also binds through a connection with knowledge, Jnana Sangena.
Exactly. In the sense, see, Pramata, as long as you are thinking that you are a knower, you are still within samsara. Even though you may be a Suddha Sattva, in the mind, mentally, maybe a balanced person. But as long as avidya is there, you are still considering yourself as a karta, then you will always, because you will think that as I am a karta, there is an object. So subject-object differentiation will always be there. So you will always be having, okay, if I am having a sukha, anytime it may change. Because I am not changeless, I am a karta and everything else is an object. So the world is always bigger than me, single individual, however high and pure and good qualities I have. So that it's an unequal battle. So as long as you think that you are a karta, even if you are a sattva, guna, pradhana, still you have to use that sattva, guna, pradhana to understand life. That Shuddha Sattva is my reality, the changelessness is my reality. So that's what he says. So don't get carried away by Shuddha Sattva. But Sattva is desirable compared to Tamas and Rajas, but don't get carried away, that's all. Yeah.
Sakara says further that in order to gain sukha, there must first be some knowledge. Either you perceive something and therefore are happy, or infer and become unhappy. Either
happy.
And become happy. Therefore, either you perceive something and therefore are happy, or infer and become happy. Infer meaning not perceive directly, but infer. You feel that it can lead to happiness. So the second level of inference, second level of knowledge. Yeah.
Either way, some knowledge is necessary for you to gain happiness, and that vritti jnana is also a bondage. And no matter what you know, you also know that you are not omniscient, all knowledge, all knowing. So the sense of being a knower is always going to be attended by a sense of limitation. That limitation is bondage. Thus, knowledge takes place because sattva is predominant, but same sattva binds through this connection with knowledge. Even in the mind, which has primarily sattva predominant, there are times when rajas and tamas become predominant. Every antakarana has all three gunas, and every guna binds you, as it were. If one knows that knowledge is a property of the mind and not Atma, but that the nature of Atma is pure consciousness and therefore has no ignorance of anything, then Sattva, by association with Jnana, is binding.
It's
It's not binding. It's not binding. In the sense, if you are alert, if you have got rid of the ignorance and that you know Atma is pure consciousness, changeless, Sattva is only a guna by association with Jnana and it is not binding. Otherwise, what will happen? You will think that I am Shuddha Sattva. That will add to your ego. That may anytime create problems for you. So, understanding is primary, more important. Sattva Guna helps you to understand, but understanding is important. Not just Sattva Guna with knowledge of Shastra, rituals, and all that. That is not enough. You have to, that will give you a Vatavaran, meaning an internal infrastructure. But you have to use the infrastructure and understand that what is the reality. You have to get rid of the avidya by going through the understanding of the what this Bhavan has to tell here, Brahma Vidya. That is important. So that's why it says the Sattva and an ability to know is not important. You have to understand. It is important.
Atma is Sukha Swarupa and does not become Sukhi at any time. One minute. Something
With
is wrong.
reference
One
to-
second. One second. There, then, who has become the Sukhi? If you say, I am happy.
No, one sentence you missed, I think.
If with reference to an object, the mind does not deny the nature of Atma, which is Ananda, that mind we understand as a predominance of Sattva. Then who has become the Sukhi? If you say, I am happy, with understanding that it is your essential nature, then there is no problem. But if you say, I have become happy, that is definitely a bondage. It implies the superimposition of the attributes of the mind upon the self. Atma does not become Sukhi. So, the notion that one is now happy is due to ignorance and is a bondage. Even though Atma is in the form of Sukha, it is mistaken as one who is now Sukhi. Similarly, even though Atma is in the form of pure knowledge, it is mistaken for a particular knowledge that is opposed to ignorance, and attributed to a knower. Atma is no more opposed to ignorance than it is to knowledge. If it were opposed to ignorance, it would not be possible to have ignorance. This fact is contrary to our experience. Surely, we all know that we are ignorant of many things.
Shall I read? Shall I read?
Yeah,
Read the sloka, then you can continue. Now he defines Rajas. Verse 7. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam.
very good. Yeah.
Verse 7. Rajas express as
Rajas expresses.
Rajas expresses as and binds through longing and attachment. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Rajas Viddhi, may you know, Rajas Ragatmakam, to be in the form of a coloring of the mind, Trishna, to be
Coloring
in the form of a coloring of the mind, Trishna Asanga Samudbhavam, to be the cause of longing and well-entrenched attachment, that Dehinam, the indweller of the body, Karma Sangena, by connection with action, Nibadnati, totally binds. Kaunteya, Arjuna, Rajas, may you know, is in the form of a coloring of the mind, causing longing and well-entrenched attachment. It totally binds the indweller of the body by connection with action. Rajas, which literally means dust, is defined technically here as that whose nature is in the form of ragatmaka. Raga is a disposition towards something that pleases and entices you such that it colors the antakarana. Shankara says it is like red chalk used for dyeing cloth. If the original cloth is white, why should you dye it? Only to make it attractive. Similarly, raga completely colors the antakarana and sticks to it, also like how the dye sticks to the cloth. Once you have a raga, it will not easily leave you. This raga expresses as two things. One is longing, Krishna. The other is excessive attachment, asanga. Shankara explains Krishna as longing for an object that you do not have and want it very much. There are many objects in the world, most of which we do not care for. But certain things loom large in the mind as desirable, and this disposition towards them is what we call the raga born of Krishna. It can be with reference to things that are visible drishta and those that are not adrishta, such as heaven. Then again, if you hold on to something we have with an apprehension that we may lose it, that is also raga born of asakti. There are many things that we cannot happily part with even when the time comes. If losing something leaves a void, then that is asakti. It is not mere attachment shakti, but a desperate holding on to the objects that are shakti.
So this we have seen before also. I have told also, like dwelling. If you keep on dwelling in the mind, a particular fancy, then it becomes a raga. And then it impels you into action. Once it impels you into action, it becomes a kama. Like step by step, you get totally entangled with it. Then after some time, you become your raga. You are defined by your the likes and dislikes. You are not defined as an individual having likes and dislikes. You become totally the likes and dislikes. You are defined. So people can easily manipulate you. They know this fellow likes this things he doesn't like. So by pampering his likes, you can get him to do anything. So it becomes your personality becomes your likes and dislikes. So that is where because of the dwelling, continuous dwelling on that. So fancy is fine. That's what we have seen in the second chapter. Prajahati yata kaman sarvan partha manogata. Everyone, whether a person who knows, who understands life or who doesn't understand life, mind will keep on throwing up fancies. Continuous flow of thought will be there. You have to pick and choose which is desirable, which is responsible, which I am supposed to do duty bound. All those things, as long as you are able to pick and choose what you are supposed to do, the fancy is not an issue. By dwelling, it becomes a raga, then the kama, if you cannot achieve it, becomes krodha, mada, matsarya, like that goes on, makes you, and finally Bhagavan said in that second chapter, finally it becomes, you become so much possessed, you become a possessed person. So anyone can do anything with you at that time. So you lose yourself straight away, it makes the person lose totally. So we should not allow it, because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens first as a fancy. At that time itself you are alert to that. You allow a fancy to be a fancy and allow it to pass, just like a movie. See, and you can choose whatever is you are supposed to act on, only that. Then a raga does not become very rooted. So the dwelling is very important. So that is why he says, by nature, nothing is asakti. You cannot create an attachment for you. But by dwelling on it, sakti becomes asakti. So very important that we are alert to that. What is trying to say?
So, and the
I mean,
seventh,
that one aspect of I always used to think is, see, an activity is being done, someone is made responsible, they are made accountable. Now, accountability does not come unless you are attached. If you take accountability of the activity, you have to like go through every detail of the document. So unless you are really attached to the timing without any distraction, you cannot read and be accountable, and you cannot gain success, right? So how can we say that without attachment?
No, see, the attachment is not to the person, it is to the role. What you are saying is that for the role, for fulfilling the role, you have to know the greater aspects of it, you have to spend time with it, that is fine. But this attachment, that is asakti, which is being talked about, is the person. The sense, I am playing a role, the person plays the role. The role demands certain attention from me, constant attention from me. That alertness should be there. That role should not, the attention you give to the role should not make you a person totally attached to whatever that is involving the role. So very important that is where the alertness, apramatta, we have discussed it before. The role and the role player. Amitabh Bachchan can play the role of a beggar better than a beggar because he is totally involved with the role. But always he knows at the back of the mind he is Amitabh Bachchan. If he loses that, then he becomes a madman. Nobody will give him that role anymore. They will take him off that role. It has happened for people, a lot of stars and all, they've lost because they got so much, so much engrossed in the role, they became mad. That shouldn't happen. You must be able to distinguish between the person and the role. However much involved the role may be, actually even if you are going to be effective in the role, as I was telling, even for that, the person and the role should be demarked. Very important. Whatever be the role we play, especially in the corporate world today, very important that to be alert to you are the person playing the role. That has to be there. The distinction is very, very important. Yeah.
And one more thing, Swamiji, the sukha, see, everywhere from the beginning, always it is said that sukham means happiness. Sukham means please self.
No. Sukha, see, wait. I think sukham means, see, sukha coming from an object or any like or something like that is Vishaya Sukha. But please the self is Sukha Swarupam. Sukha Swarupam is different from Sukha getting from an object. Getting from an object will go. However sincere you are, dharmic you are, it will go. What has come will always go. Because Swarupa being changeless is your nature, that will not. So that distinguishing again has to be there always. Very important. That is what the difference between, that is what that I was telling, no? Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. That initial understanding, that Swarupam is very important. Swarupa Sukham is what we are talking about. Swarupa Santi, Swarupa Sukham is your reality, your nature. Once you understand that, that is there is nothing to go, nothing to come also, because this changes. Whereas Sukha, because the problem is that is what I was telling. That I lack is the problem. What I lack is not the problem. What I lack, what will happen? I like this, I want this. So you fulfill this. So at the moment when you fulfill a particular want, till the time the next want comes to your mind, you are free of any want. So you think you are Sukha Swarupi. That is true, but that is based because of what it happened, because of an object which you wanted and you got it. So that Sukha will last only till the time next want comes into picture. So the differentiation is very important. Sukha Swarupi is your reality. Want is coming and going. So that I lack is the problem. What I lack is not the problem. What I lack will always be there. And you keep on to the extent possible dharmically, if it is in your if it is praptam virudha kadaikum. So you can work for it, no doubt. But never have that thing that it is because of that only I will be happy. Happiness is your Sukha Swarupa. That you have to understand only by removing the ignorance. That is what we are trying.
Actually, one confusion always prevails in this generation, especially after all these mutts have come up, Swamiji. I have one potential doubt. I just want to voice it out a little bit. See, we do Suhasini Puja, we do Homa, we do Sudarshana Homa, we do Abhisheka. Now, like for example, like how in Hanjakudi actually, Swamiji, you are not having a Swami room in your room. So you are going to the temple, you are very clear. You go there, you are doing Panchayatana Puja outside there. You are coming back, you are sure that you have a temple, so you have to go there. Now, for a person like me, Swamiji, I have one hereditary, from heredity, I have one linga or something with me. And I know that is the best that I have to do during Adi Masam for me to get some good energy out of that. I have one feeling. Another thing, the person who may be with me thinks that going to the mud or going to that real temple is the place where they will get the real thing. Another person feels going to Kabalishwara temple, sitting in front of Karpagamba only will give me the real pleasure. Now, I understand all three have different aspects, different meanings, but at a time when we involve in all three types of life, it is very confusing which one to really follow, Swamiji. Sometimes it is so crazy that Sundays especially I do not know what to do, whether to go to Shagadapuram Mutt, whether to sit at home and do puja with Abhishekam, or to go to Karpagamba temple and see Adi Masam puja. Really confused, Swamiji. Why confusion? Last but not least, sometimes reading this Bhagavad Gita will give me immense pleasure, means that, but that looks like an escape from doing the normal puja and the karma that I have to do. Sometimes it is like that also. So really confused.
No. You see, the thing is that as now the way in which you have framed it, you are clear that from this what we have been discussing is that you have an infrastructure wherein the Chitta Suddhi, Chitta Samadhanam, Naishchalyam is there. You are you are in the Sattva frame of mind wherein where whatever you are reading, whatever you are studying, you are able to concentrate and learn something out of it. If that is how you want to look at your life, that understanding will take root. Irrespective of that, if having understood that, you have the inner leisure to accommodate and be empathetic, which I always told, that daya and kshama. In the sense, even though you may not like it, you accommodate with glad acceptance. You give some time to others around you, give them their, they want to go to the temple, possible, do it. Maybe three out of 3 times, 2 times you can go, 1 time they will also understand. So, like this, you have to be empathetic and be understanding the other people. At the same time, you are clearly clear in your understanding how you want to live your life and follow and understand, that you do it. As far as you are concerned, the Satyam, that Arjavam, and that dosham don't compromise. With reference to others, be empathetic and shama, daya and shama. All the things have to be with you. Then only that is called piyusha. That is amritam. Amritam is how you deal with the world and how to be yourself. Both are equally important. You don't have to get confused. You be clear in your understanding, at the same time accommodate others. That is how it is.
Because
Yeah, there will be some challenge because of your time and all that. That they will also understand. As long as you are making a sincere attempt to most of the time possibly help them in their pursuits, then they will also help you. They will come your way also sometimes. That is my experience. You should not have an opinion that what they are doing is wrong, what you are doing alone is right. Because as you rightly said, that is how they understand. So till the time they understand and come to what we are understanding, so everyone has got a background. In that background, if I have been there, I would also be like that. So that is how we have to.
so are you telling me I should do what my heart feels right and what I'm comfortable with in that?
Yes, you can do that. At the same time, accommodating, going along with them whenever it is possible. Very important.
Because
Swamiji,
we see in
yeah.
this world, I'm just telling you my observation for being quiet for the last 5 years and observing. I'm telling you, especially the generation of my parents, what's happening now is they were doing karma at home, they were doing homa at home, they were doing shraddham at home. Shraddha, you forget it, it's a big exercise. But doing basic Ganapati puja, everything now, what people do, these mutts have started doing all those things there in a very grand way. So in house it never happens. Not even one Purusha Sutta is told at home, everybody goes there. At home, completely nothing happens. But when people come back home, they say, I got something great, I went to that mutt, happens like this. As a result, at home, the basic karma of Sandhya Vandanam that you need to do, those things are getting absent. So I'm just posing like you should feel what you feel right you should do, because it is not necessary to like for example, Swamiji, if I want, I can even meditate and think of Swami and still remain at home and use quality time. Because when it comes to corporate work or temple, we say corporate work is more important because production time. Like that, here also we can distinguish and do, right, Swamiji? That's what is.
Yeah, very true. It was like that only. Previously, in older generation, my generation, elder generation also, people were not going to temple all the time and all that. They were doing everything at home only. It was the practice. It was in the culture. Going to temple and all was only occasion and all that. But things are changing now because they feel that at home they are not having a conducive atmosphere because it involves a lot of labor. They have to compromise on their comforts and all that. So everything now put on the temple. So they feel less guilty by going to the temple and not doing anything at home. So it's all a question of society has changed. Can't help it. But as long as you can live as per your conviction, you have the wherewithal to do it. You should do it. But without getting agitated with how the society has moved on. Can't help it. We cannot do anything. No, what we can change only we can change. That we have that serenity prayer applies. Let me have the serenity to accept things which I cannot change. Let me have the will and effort to change things I can. Let me have the wisdom to know the difference. So that you keep peace with yourself. Very important. Don't get agitated with what is happening around. Just follow your conviction, your way of it helps you keep a peace. That is very important. Yeah.
Swamiji, what I feel is if one is habituated to using puja at home regularly on every Sunday, if not on all days, that should be given priority first, because that is you are doing it in the home. So when you do, first you do in the house, then you go out.
Yeah, very true, very true. Home is the temple.
Yeah, home is a temple. It gives peace. Your puja gets reverberated. It gets echoed in your walls and all. That's what I was told.
Yes, not only that.
It is stick to their walls. That's what I was told.
Very true, very
I
true.
believe also.
Because home is a temple. Home is a temple, and also I tell you, if you don't do Nevedyam in the house, that is only a house. It's not a home. Four walls not make a house. No, a home. No, four walls makes a house. Fine. House can be called home only when there is Nevedyam done. And then only you will cook after bath. Then only you will eat after offering. All these things are very important. They're all very well laid out.
Just sharing one personal experience, Swamiji. I was going for Chaturmasyam, one Swamiji is here, Chaturmasyam, I was going all 10 weeks, we have gone continuously without fail. But I'll tell you, it has made me lose the actual Abhisheka that I do at home or the puja that I at home very diligently. What I used to do with devotion, that is now not there. And what has happened is the food offered there is considered more auspicious because it is kept to that ambal and given. As a result, at home now what we are doing, we are only giving Christmas grapes to our ambal and we are finishing it. But
Yeah, it's all.
just to clarify that when we have to do our karma at home, we should do that first and then only look at outside, because that's how our culture is brought.
Very true, very true, very true. That was what the sense. It's all now. It has become. That is why true religion has been converted into popular religion. The true religion is very different.
But some people also call that as attachment. They say you do at home, you want to be so attached at home, you are being attached. They are saying that is not attachment.
See, that's what I'm telling. This attachment between the role, there is a confusion. Basically, the person should not get attached. Not the what you do to play a role effectively is not called attachment. This is your role, doing the role dharma. Doing the role dharma diligently, it's not attachment. If because of that you get agitated as a person, either way, then that is attachment.
Okay.
Yeah, that the actor, that the real person, the reality has to be understood. Everything else is only role play. Then only you will have that objectivity. I tell you, the objectivity is not. The objectivity is the clarity between the person and the role at all times. So then you will be able to place everything in its own dimension, not get agitated by anything. You will try and make it what is the role, correct role, as a householder, as a homemaker, what should is my role. I will constantly strive to make it. I will not feel guilty and hurt because the person does not get attached to that. It is only a role. If you do play our role properly and ensure that the house atmosphere is home is maintained well, everyone benefits. So that is what we are striving for, rather than by being attached. The attachment is purely a person, the lack of distinction between the role and the person. So that we have to be very clear at all times. Yeah.
We'll stop here.
Yeah, we'll stop here. Then where we stop?
We have to start from this expression of Raja.
Expression of Rajas, Nibandhanati.
Okay,
We'll
right. We'll
start
start
from
with that. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow we'll start.
पूर्णमादः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम्